Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's Sensei Pink and I'm coming back to you guys for my review on Lower Olympus episode 214 and 215. Please do me a huge favor and go follow me on all of my socials, which is my TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and any other that I have listed. And please do me a huge favor again and hit that like, subscribe, and notification button. Now, getting into this episode, we pick up with Mint after we had the whole flashback of her personal past and basically how she came to not being a plant anymore, and up to this moment when she got up after she saw Demeter come back to the mortal realm all upset. After she gets up, she just seems to be holding her sunglasses and I guess walking away, and she hears someone say, "Hey," so it is true. After Mint turns around, it turns out that it's that asshole THANATOS coming to her saying like, "Oh, I see that the rumors are true." And as she's just woken up, she also has this kid, kind of like attached to her by her wrist. Mint is then surprised to see THANATOS, but literally not even like 2 seconds after meeting her again for the first time, THANATOS is just like, "You look terrible." After looking at her for a moment and then looking down at the boy at her side, Mint is just like, "Who the heck is this kid? What's up with that?" And she's just like, "Oh, that's my son Achilles. And although he's part mortal, he's good at everything, so it cancels a lot out." She also then goes to tell Mint that she's actually a queen, but that can only live but so long. And now that the realms have like opened up to each other, she's ready to shake some shit up. She then is like, "My cousin is gonna meet us in the city," and she also has some wild stories to share about Hades. We then see Mint like stop and think for a moment, and as her facial expression kind of changes, not to angry but just like to very stern, Mint goes on to tell THANATOS that their friendship is a bad one, and in the end, because THANATOS is toxic with or without her, she'd just like to end their friendship, and goes on to wish her the best and then begins to walk away. And as she walks away, THANATOS is just like kind of in shock and is just like, "Go to hell, Mint." And right after that, we see Mint arrive at her class that she's teaching on how to construct a resume, and she's teaching some of the flower nymphs and nymphs from the mortal realm, and we officially kind of just see her at peace. Right after the whole situation with Mint, we flash over to the underworld to see Hades making a breakfast where he's making this thing and everything just kind of keeps dying on him, like the flowers and whatnot. And as he makes this breakfast, he's thinking back to the conversation that him and Demeter and Percy had, where basically Demeter's just like, "Look, Hades, you say you love my daughter, but yet you let her make a deal with Olympus to basically be queen of the underworld." Now back in the present, Hades wakes up Percy with this breakfast, and after Percy kind of wakes up in a panic like, "Oh wait, we have to go to work and whatnot," Hades is just like, "No, you're gonna relax here, eat this breakfast, and relax at home." Although Percy does protest a little bit, Hades is just like, "Look, after everything we've been through and you've been through, with your mom having your hands turned green and the fact that I've been sleeping for years, you're due for some R&R at this point." And after some cute little back and forth, we flash over to Kate, who's waiting on Hades, and once Hades arrives, he tells her the whole news with Demeter not taking, Percy being in the underworld very well, and that, since Percy has given up so much to come live with him in the underworld, he needs to make sure that everything is in order. Kate then is just like, "All right, so what's the plan?" And Hades is just like, "I need to know what happened to me, what happened to you, what happened to Hermes and everyone in the underworld." And we end this episode with Hades stating that he has to have a talk with his father. Now moving into episode 215, we start off with Kate basically saying, a little post-mortem would be good. I think, having a bit of clarity would be good for everyone. And that she's glad that her and Hades reached a consensus in regards to Kronos, and that being that going down to TARDIS to try and figure out what happened would be a foolish idea. Now, having a bit of a tantrum, Hades is just like, my father is going to feel my fury, for what he did to me, my kingdom. And in the end, he must protect his beautiful future wife at all costs. After sitting him down for a little bit more common sense to be drilled into his head, Hecate is just like, yes, your beautiful wife who, if we went down there, she'd be scraping our bodies off the tiles of HADES. Hades then goes on to say, like, there's just so much in disarray, such as unsorted shades, employees with years missing off their lives, and the administration is a complete mess. And that, overall, Persephone can only be seduced by but so many vacation days because she's so excited to start her role as queen. Hecate then comes to the rescue and is just like, while you two been having fun, I've been on the case. She then goes on to pull up this glowing presentation of what happened, and essentially she comes up with a theory. Her theory is, there's a monster essentially living in their basement. They used to visit him all the time, but as time passed, his flesh began to rot off, and once he just became bones, they really stopped checking on him. As time moved on, Persephone finally arrives in the underworld, and it would be fine if she was just any regular goddess, but she's a legendary fertility goddess. She then concludes that, with Persephone's presence just being in the underworld, that helped Kronos gain his strength back. Hecate then tells him you have to be a descendant of Olympus and begins to ask him if anything happened to him in her presence. Hades then tells her that he did become Titan-sized at one point, and after putting that vital information on hold, Hecate proceeds with her presentation, basically saying after Persephone arrived, it just became, a game of distance. He then began to knock everyone out via their scars, and since Hades was the closest to him and had the most scars, he could easily just take over Hades and use him to complete little tasks here and there that he needed done so that he could eventually escape TARDIS. After Hecate concludes that Hypnos was involved, most likely because, Kronos took over Hades and probably ordered him to have everyone fall asleep, they conclude that they have to find him, and although Hades doesn't know how to find him, Hecate knows someone who can. We then flash over to Daphne and Thanatos, who seem to be getting a little busy, but right before they get busy, they're getting undressed. And before these two can get into it, the doorbell rings, and we end this episode off with Thanatos going to open the door. And after he opens it and just kind of tells whoever's on the other side that they need to make it quick, he stops when he sees that it's Hades and Hecate right at his doorstep. All right, guys, so getting into my thoughts on these episodes, I am so proud of Mint. Clap it up for her. Clap it up for her. Mint is that bitch now. She doesn't need THANATOS. I'm so proud of her. I'm really glad that she's made progress. She's going in the right direction and she knows it. Next, after hearing that, Persephone is really only valuable to descendants of Olympus. I don't know how you say his name, but whatever his name is, that only brings to mind one other person, again, the one person that wants to take her, which is Apollo. And I've said this before, I don't know where he fits in this now that Percy is now kind of assigned to the underworld. Not assigned, but she kind of made the deal, so she has to be there. So I don't know how he's exactly going to phase out this picture, but I'm going to wait and see. Maybe he finds a loophole or something. And I feel like he's going to be the one that actually tries to kidnap, the actual story. How Hades comes up with a chariot, kidnaps her, well, not kidnapped her, but takes her away and brings her to the underworld. And Apollo will probably do the same. And I could kind of see it. It'll be Apollo will take her in his chariot, and against her will, obviously, and it'll be up to Hades to get her back. Third, I'm so happy to see my ship together. I really do love Thanatos and Daphne. Yeah, you know what it is, it's just the pink. You gotta go pink, can't do red, can't do gray, can't do any of that. You gotta go pink. No discrimination against the other nymphs, but you know, it just seems to be like that. And lastly, I'm excited to see what happens between THANATOS and HADES. Like, THANATOS is the reason, well, he's part of the reason this whole thing happened. And I just want to know what he has to say for himself. I mean, in previous episodes when, you know, Menth and Thetis were really like concocting this plan, you know, he was the one, you know, kind of like, you know, this, I don't think we should do this, you know, this just isn't going to turn out right. Like, we should just keep this to ourselves and everybody just take their L's. And that didn't happen. You know, everything proceeded and everything went to shit. So I really wonder, like, you know, what is going to happen? You know, is he going to apologize to HADES? Is HADES going to demand, you know, an apology from him? Or is he going to stand in his shit? You know, I really don't know what's going to happen. So, you know, make sure that you let me know what you guys think is going to happen between them in the comments below. So now that we're wrapping up, be sure to follow me on all of my social media, my TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and all other things that I have. And of course, be sure to hit that like, subscribe, and notification button if you want to see more of your favorite sensei, Sensei Pink.